Good evening. We're back with another episode of the Lord of the Rings LCG Progression Series. And tonight's a card review of The Flame of the West, which is the second to last box of the Lord of the Rings saga. The saga boxes on average have much higher quality cards than your average adventure pack or expansion. There's a much greater chance, it seems, from the saga boxes of getting a hero that significantly changes the game or upgrades your power. So let's take a look at this one. The first hero is Éowyn. 9 threat tactics hero, 4 willpower, 1 attack, 1 shields, 3 health. 4 willpower from tactics is great. 4 willpower from Spirit is great. From tactics, it's extremely good. And it doesn't have higher threat to compensate either. So far, we're off to a great start. Set up reduce your threat by 3. So she starts at 6 threat. Well, we could just stop right there and this would be a great hero. Action, raise your threat by 3. To ready Éowyn, she gets plus 9 attack until the end of the phase. Limit once per game for the group. Wow, okay. That is the best hero in the game. By best hero in the game, I mean she is most likely to be included in decks that are going to defeat the hardest quests in the game. More likely to be included than any other hero currently in the game, in my opinion. That is a really, really, really good hero. If there was no other cards in this box, I would still buy this box for this hero. Starts at 6 threat is amazing. You choose when to raise your threat, and when you do, it's only up to a normal threat value of 9. And by the way, in case anybody doesn't know, you can attack with her and then exhaust her and then use her action to ready her and give her plus 9 attack, and she'll get plus 9 on the first attack, and then you can attack again also with plus 9. So you can do 2 attacks for 10 in one round, and then the rest of the time quest for 4 with her out of the tactics sphere. This is the best hero in the game currently, in my opinion. Most likely to be included in decks that will beat the hardest quests in the game. Phenomenal hero. Her spirit version was really good too. Baragond, 10 threat, 014, spirit hero, 4 health. So it's exactly the same stats as his tactics version. After Baragond defends an attack and takes no damage, reduce the defending player's threat by 1. That's pretty good, but I think I'd rather have tactics version unless I needed access to the spirit sphere and a defender. The reason is the cost reduction on attachments is really strong. And reducing threat by 1 when he defends, even if he does it every round, that's minus 6 threat. That could be very good. It's definitely the version to play if you don't need any attachments on him. But I like the other version if you're going to put attachments on him for the cost reduction. I think cost reduction is stronger than threat reduction generally. I value 1 threat reduced at half a resource. So if I'm saving, let's say, 2 resources, playing 1 attachment on Baragond, I would value that at 4 threat. So he'd have to reduce 4. He'd have to defend against 4 attacks, taking no damage, to gain the equivalent of 2 resources saved compared to his tactics version. And 4 threat reduction would take probably at least 4 turns, which would make tactics version of Baragond better in the early game with just 1 attachment played on him. And if you play 2, then he might just be better permanently, and spirit version would never catch up to him. But without attachments, Spirit version is better. He's still a very strong card. It's just Tactics version is also very, very strong. But if you needed access to the Spirit Sphere or weren't playing any attachments, this version would be better if you needed a strong defender. Also a very strong hero. So those are the two heroes for this expansion, and already this is a must-buy saga box because of Eowyn, and the rest of the cards are just a bonus, but we'll take a look at them anyway. Grimbold, 3 cost, 2/1/1, 2 health, combat action, discard Grimbold to choose an enemy engaged with a player. That enemy cannot attack that player this phase. So he's got a feint built in. Feint is worth 1 resource. That means you get a semi-permanent 2 willpower ally for 2 cost. I mean, it depends on how many turns you get out of him, but I'd rather have a 2 cost for 2 ally that never leaves play. I guess you save the card slot. It's not bad, but I've seen this trend with Rohan allies ever since Theodred was released, really. They all seem overcosted to compensate for Theodred's cost reduction. I'm not a fan of that. It probably means Rohan synergy will never be elevated to the position it could have been. It's, at this point, a fun deck, but not a particularly good one. And I don't think this card's good enough to play outside of Rohan synergy. Prince Imrahil, an ally version of him, okay. 4 costs, 2/2/2, 3 health. While there is a hero card in your discard pile, Prince Imrahil loses the ally card type and gains the hero card type. Okay, well, I don't think we can talk about this hero in isolation. I think we have to talk about him in combination with Caldera. So let's take a look once more at Caldera. Garbage hero when she came out, in my opinion. Let's take a look now. 8 threat, 2/1/2, 3 health. Discard Caldera to put 1 spirit ally from your discard pile into play for each other hero you control with a printed spirit resource icon. So in a Tri-Sphere spirit deck, you can discard Caldera to put 2 allies into play from your discard pile. That could be very strong, especially in the early game. And then Prince Imrahil can replace her as a spirit hero. You can bring Caldera back with other spirit cards as well, and then have 4 heroes. So I think Prince Imrahil enables a Caldera deck to become something quite good. I don't know if it's like one deck to rule them all good, but it's very good. And it's a very interesting and fun strategy to play. So for that reason alone, I really like this ally. Now, if I wasn't going to play Caldera, would he be good? Or, not really, no. How often do you lose a hero? Almost never. So his ability doesn't come into play, and he's understated for his cost. But in the Caldera deck, he's great. He's essential even to play that deck well. And I do think that deck is very strong. However, I'm not sure that it's a one deck to rule them all type of strong. One deck to rule them all meaning a deck that can beat all of the quests in the game without any changes. And that may seem like a really harsh standard, but Eowyn is capable of filling a slot in a deck that can do that, in my opinion. Well, not in my opinion. I mean, anyone can just check Rings DB to see that that's the case. Prince Imrahil, and it's not hard to see why with Eowyn. Prince Imrahil is not quite that powerful, but he's really, really powerful and a fun card in the Caldera deck. And the Caldara deck is a very, very good deck against very difficult quests. So we've got, this probably is the strongest saga box already. Strongest expansion box, the strongest adventure pack. Compared to any other source that you might get cards from, this is the strongest of them so far. Would go on my top of the list of boxes to buy if you're trying to build a strong deck. Alberad Dunadine, 4 cost, 2/2/2, 3 health. Reduce the cost to play Alberad by 1 for each enemy engaged with you. Each enemy engaged with you gets +10 engagement cost. So he enables cards that are good when the enemies you're fighting have higher engagement costs than your threat. Reduce the cost to play by 1 for each enemy engaged with you. I don't put much value on the second part of that ability. So I think this card needs to be played for 2 to be good. And therefore it needs to be played when there are 2 enemies engaged with you. And that situation is not very common, but it does happen, especially in the Dunadine deck. So I'd probably put him in that deck, but that doesn't elevate the Dunadine synergy to top tier. It's still kind of a fun niche deck to play. It's good against some quests, but not really your go-to for the highest or hardest difficulty quests in the game. But it's okay. Dunadine and it's fun. So, yeah, that doesn't change with Alberad. Baragond, probably terrible pronunciation. 2 cost, X willpower, where X is the threat of the active location. That's interesting. He's woes, 1 attack, 1 shield, 2 health. Travel action, discard Baragond to travel to a location without resolving its travel effect. Well, that's probably going to be a very good card against some very difficult quests because some of the Nightmare decks have horrifying travel effects on the locations. And this will allow you to avoid one while also questing pretty well generally as long as you have an active location. But doing nothing when you don't. So I think this is a very good card against some very difficult decks. Man, they just keep coming with the good cards in this saga box. My gosh. I mean, it's already the best saga box, the best expansion box, etc., etc. And yet, still we add more. Great card. Very good card. Glad it exists. Good card to exist. I'm glad it exists. Sterner than Steel, 0 cost, exhaust a weapon or armor card attached to the defending character to cancel a shadow effect just triggered during combat. So it's slightly less usable, less playable than Hasty Strike. But in the situation where you get it out, it's cheaper. Well, if you need to cancel shadow effects and you're running something like Baragond or any defender who's got a weapon or armor, this is a great card to include. It's, very comparable to Hasty Stroke. Situationally, but very comparable, and you could even imagine running both if you had really bad shadow effects. So, another good card. Not a great card, but a good card. Hasty Stroke doesn't see a lot of play anymore for me. And I don't think this card is straight up better than Hasty Stroke. But it's a good card against some specific challenges. Desperate Defense, 1 cost. After a Sentinel character is declared as a defender, it gets +2 shields for this attack. If this attack deals no damage, ready the defending character. Okay, well, I mean, it's okay. I don't play a lot of one-time usage cards. I don't really like one-time use cards. I play as few of them as I can get away with. Typically, if I play a one-time use card, its intent is to bring a more permanent card into play, like, for example, a very good tail, or it's to provide threat reduction. Other than that, I don't play a lot of one-time use cards or to generate resources, which then are used to bring more permanent effects into play. So I don't like one-time use cards that don't have a permanent effect on the board. I know it can help you to eliminate an enemy, but I mean, if it doesn't bring an ally into play and it's not reducing threat, then I'm not generally a fan of non-permanent effects unless I have to play them to deal with some specific challenge. And this card doesn't really deal with a specific challenge, and therefore, even though the effect is fine, I don't see myself playing it. But your mileage as a deck builder may vary, and in general I think the power level of this card is just fine as events go. Golden Shield, 1 cost, attached to a Rohan hero, restricted. After attached hero is declared as a defender, exhaust Golden Shield to add attached hero's willpower to its attack for this attack. Well, this seems pretty clear to be a card that is good on Eowyn, because she's the highest willpower hero in Tactics. It can go on a Rohan hero from any sphere, and this could be good on Theoden. Well, probably almost any Rohan hero could get up to 4 attack with this, or 4 defense with this card. Yeah, it's a good card when you need a defender and you're running Tactics. I like it. I think it's got a spot in a lot of very good decks. It's yet another very good card from this saga box. Getting up to 4 defense every turn with this card is very, very strong. And it opens up options too, where you could be dealing with a strong attack every turn, but you don't have to play Baragond now to do it. So this is very good, and this really buffs the Rohan synergy, because defending and attack are big weaknesses of Rohan. Well, actually attack isn't really, but defending is a big weakness of the Rohan synergy, and now it's not. So this really upgrades the Rohan synergy, possibly even makes it viable for some hard quests. I don't think it elevates it to the go-to synergy, although it could. It's possible. I mean, I don't think it does elevate it to the go-to synergy, like the best synergy in the game, but it definitely elevates Rohan quite a bit because it covers one of their biggest weaknesses. So I like this card quite a lot. This is a very good card. Yet another one. Livery of the Tower, 0 cost, attached to a Gondor hero, restricted. Spend X resources from attached hero's resource pool to cancel X damage just dealt to attached hero. So it's another defensive card. This one, well, why would you play this over Gondorian Shield? The card where you spend 1 resource. I suppose if you were only generally going to cancel 1 or 2. But, yeah, even then, Gondorian Shield, if you had 3 resources on it, you could buff shields by 2. Or, what? It's not Gondorian Shield. Blood of Numenor. Sorry. Blood of Numenor is the card I'm referring to. If you had 3 resources with this card, you can cancel 3 damage, but then you lose all 3 resources. Blood of Numenor is also in the Spirit Sphere, and you would spend 1 resource to gain 2 shields, but you would keep the resources. I think that generally is much better, and I don't think you would run both. So the effect is okay, but it's overshadowed by Blood of Numenor, I think. In the same sphere, even. And I don't think you'd ever run both. Rohirrim, 2 cost, attached to a Dunadine hero. If attached hero is Aragorn, he gains the Tactics icon. After you optionally engage an enemy against exhaust Rohirrim, and attached hero to declare that hero as an attacker and resolve its attack against that enemy. That can be very good. I don't know if it's an auto-include against every deck, because there's a lot of decks with enemies with higher shields, like 2 or 3 shields, and this isn't that good. In that circumstance, unless you buffed up Baragond quite a bit, or whatever Dunadine hero you have this on. But if you've done that, then this card could be very good. Or if you're playing it against a deck with low shield enemies, this could be very good, and you're playing Dunadine. Again, like Alberad, I don't think this elevates the Dunadine synergy to really strong. But it's a fine card in that synergy if you play cards that are designed to make use of its effect, or if you know the encounter deck and you know this would be good against that. So it's a niche card, but in its niche it can be good. Overall, this is the strongest saga box, the strongest purchase you could make outside of the core set. Be a straight upgrade to your power in almost any circumstance where you put Éowyn in your deck. And there are other cards in here that are very good, although Imrahil needs Caldara, I think. Baragond is just a straight good card. Alberad's a fun card. Baragond could be very good if you didn't already have his tactics version, for sure. Golden Shield, very strong. Oh, here, and a fun card. Fun card slash above average, but anyway, very, very, very good saga box. The best, containing the best hero in the game, in my opinion. Éowyn. Tactics Éowyn. So thank you for watching.